Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Are your houseplants looking droopy, yellow, or just not thriving? Don't worry. Today I'm sharing the ultimate guide to keeping your indoor plants healthy, happy, and thriving all year round. This is the complete houseplant care guide you've been waiting for. This video is for you whether you're a brand new plant parent or have had your indoor jungle for years but need a refresh on the basics. Let's get started. The first step to healthy houseplants is finding the right spot. Observe the light in the room you want to place your plant in throughout the day. Does it receive bright indirect light, or is it a darker room with less natural light? Some plants such as snake plants and zizé plants can tolerate lower light conditions, while others like pothos and monsteras prefer bright indirect light. Consider moving your plant if it's not in the ideal spot after a few weeks and doing the leaf test. The leaf test is an easy way to see if your plants are getting enough light. If the leaves are pale or the plant is stretching towards the light source, it needs more light. If the leaves are scorched or wilted, move it away from the heat source or direct sunlight and give it a little shade. It may take some trial and error, but it's worth it to find a perfect spot for your green friends. Now let's talk about natural versus artificial light. Can you put a plant under grow lights? Yes, absolutely. Grow lights are a great option, especially if you live in a colder climate and don't get much natural light during the winter months. They also allow you to move your plants around more easily without having to worry about the light levels in each room. Plus, you can use them to start seeds or propagate cuttings. Just be sure to choose the right type of grow light for your plants. Full spectrum lights are a good all-purpose choice that mimic natural light. LED lights are energy efficient and produce very little heat. And if you want to get fancy, you can even purchase lights that emit specific wavelengths of light that are beneficial for certain types of plants. Watering is essential for keeping your houseplants healthy. But did you know that overwatering is one of the most common mistakes new plant parents make? That's why it's important to learn how often you should water your plants and how to tell if they need water. The frequency of watering depends on the type of plant, the size of the pot, and the environment. Generally, you should water when the top inch or two of soil is dry. Use a moisture meter or your finger to check for dryness. Stick your finger into the soil up to the first knuckle. If it feels wet, don't water. If it feels dry, give your plant a good soak. Here are a few other signs that your plants need water. The leaves are wilting or drooping. The soil is dry and the leaves are losing color or dropping. The pot is light and you can feel the weight of the soil inside. Overwatering can cause root rot and kill your plants, so it's better to err on the side of underwatering rather than overwatering. However, if you're concerned about your plant, always check the roots. If they're dry and brittle, it's time to water. Deep watering is key to keeping your houseplants hydrated and healthy. When you do water, make sure to water thoroughly until the water flows out of the drainage holes. This ensures that the roots have enough water and that the excess water can escape. Avoid letting your plants sit in standing water though, as this can lead to root rot. Repotting is an important part of caring for your houseplants. As your plant grows, it will eventually outgrow its pot and the roots will become crowded. This can lead to stunted growth or even death. That's why it's important to repot your plants into larger pots when they become root bound. To check if your plant needs repotting, look for these signs. The roots are circling in the pot. The roots are growing out of the drainage holes, the plant is not draining well when you water it, or the plant is not growing or flowering as well as it used to. When you repot, you'll also want to refresh your plant's soil. As the soil in your plant's pot becomes compacted and depleted of nutrients, it can become difficult for the roots to access the water and nutrients they need to grow. So when you notice that your plant is struggling, it may be time to repot with fresh soil. Additionally, if your plant is not draining properly, it may be because the soil has become too compact. This can happen over time as the roots grow and the soil becomes saturated. Finally, if you notice that your plant is not growing or flowering as much as it used to, it may be because the soil is lacking in nutrients. You should also consider repotting when you notice that your plant is not growing or flowering as much as it used to. The soil may be lacking in nutrients, and a fresh mix could help rejuvenate your plant. There's no need to panic if you see these signs. Repotting is a simple process that can help your plant thrive once again. Just take your time and follow a few easy steps to ensure that your plant is happy and healthy. Like most houseplants, tropicals prefer humidity levels similar to what they would experience in their natural habitat. You can mimic these conditions by misting your plants regularly, placing them on a pebble tray, or using a humidifier. Grouping plants together can also create a more humid microclimate. Here's another hack. Set up a low wattage light above your plants and run it during the day. Not only will this increase the light levels, but the heat produced by the bulb will increase the air temperature and humidity levels. Most houseplants prefer temperatures between 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. However, some plants such as cacti and succulents prefer a drier, more arid environment. If you live in a cold climate, you may need to take extra steps to protect your plants from the cold. Bringing your plants indoors before the first frost is crucial to prevent freezing damage. Once inside, keep them away from cold drafts and windows to prevent cold stress. Cacti and succulents prefer a drier environment, so you may need to reduce watering frequency during the winter months. Fertilizing your houseplants is an important part of keeping them healthy and thriving. However, it's easy to make the mistake of fertilizing too much or too little. Over-fertilizing can damage your plant's roots and lead to nutrient toxicity, while under-fertilizing can result in nutrient deficiencies and stunted growth. A good rule of thumb is to fertilize your plants during the active growing season, which is typically in the spring and summer months. During this time, your plants will need more nutrients to support their growth and development. However, it's important to read the package instructions on your fertilizer to determine the correct amount and frequency of application. Different fertilizers have different strengths and may require more or less frequent applications. In addition to following the package instructions, there are a few other things to keep in mind when fertilizing your houseplants. First, avoid fertilizing your plants during their dormant season, which is typically in the winter months. Your plants will not be able to utilize the fertilizer and it may end up burning the roots. Second, never use fertilizers near the plant's roots. Always mix the fertilizer into the soil or water according to the package instructions. Third, always water your plants thoroughly after fertilizing to prevent salt buildup and root damage. Fourth, consider using a slow-release fertilizer to make sure your plants have a steady supply of nutrients over time. Finally, watch for signs of nutrient deficiencies and adjust your fertilization schedule or fertilizer type accordingly. Yellow leaves are a common problem for houseplant owners. Fortunately, there are some easy ways to fix this issue and get your plant back to its healthy, vibrant state. First, identify the cause of the yellowing. Is it overwatering, underwatering, lack of light, or nutrient deficiency? Once you've determined the cause, take steps to correct it. For example, if the yellowing is due to overwatering, you may need to repot the plant in a well-draining soil mix and water it less frequently. On the other hand, if the plant is underwatered, you'll need to water it more deeply and consistently. Additionally, providing your plant with adequate light and nutrients can help prevent yellowing and keep the leaves green and healthy. Pests are any gardener's worst nightmare, but don't worry, there are some easy ways to get rid of them for good. Inspect your plants regularly for pests such as mealybugs, spider mites, whiteflies, and aphids. These pests can cause damage to your plants, but luckily they're also easy to identify and treat. Treat your plants immediately if you do find any pests. Otherwise, the infestation can spread quickly and become difficult to control. There are several safe and effective ways to deal with pests. First, you can treat your plants with insecticidal soap or neem oil. These treatments can be found at most garden centers and are safe for humans and pets once they dry. Another effective way to deal with pests is to wipe down the affected areas with a cotton swab dipped in rubbing alcohol or vinegar. If the infestation is severe, you may need to prune off the affected stems or leaves and dispose of them immediately. In addition to treating your plants, you should also take steps to prevent pests from returning. This includes keeping your plants healthy and well hydrated and avoiding overcrowding your plants. Root rot is a condition that occurs when the roots of a houseplant become waterlogged and begin to decay. This can happen if the plant is watered too frequently or if the soil is not well draining. Root rot can cause the plant to wilt and die if left untreated. Fortunately, there are some easy ways to prevent and treat root rot. One way to prevent root rot is to water your plants only when the soil is dry. You can use a moisture meter or simply stick your finger into the soil to check the moisture level. Another way to prevent root rot is to use a well-draining soil mix. This will allow excess water to drain out of the pot and prevent the roots from becoming waterlogged. If you notice that your plant has root rot, it's important to act quickly. First, remove the plant from its pot and inspect the roots. Any roots that are brown or black or mushy should be trimmed off with a sharp pruners. Be sure to disinfect the pruners before and after use. Once you've removed the affected roots, place the plant in a pot with a well-draining soil mix and water it thoroughly. With proper care, the plant should be able to recover from root rot and continue to thrive. Keeping your houseplants healthy and happy doesn't have to be overwhelming. By following these easy tips, you can ensure that your indoor plants stay healthy and beautiful all year round. Remember to observe your plants closely, adjust their care as needed, and enjoy the process. Happy planting, friends! If this video helped you keep your plants healthier, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more plant care tips. Together, we'll make your indoor jungle thrive.